it gets at the heart of people. It's about building community and connecting with people using language. That's really why we use language. We use it to create messages in order to communicate and share ideas and thoughts. And I guess that's really what it tries to do. It tries to just create a natural environment for people to communicate with each other.
So basically, Agala got started about 10 years ago. I took a group of students to Mexico, and I was really excited for them to be speaking a second language, interacting with native speakers and in the culture. And what I saw happen instead is that students were afraid to talk, they wouldn't engage, they could speak at all, they didn't understand what was going on, they stayed with their American friends, and I saw a huge breakdown in them using the second language. And I came back from that trip, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, we're doing it all wrong. And the way that second language is taught often doesn't actually resemble how you learn a second language.
It's just kind of trying to replicate how we learned our first language, They're exposed to it, they're immersed in it, and then they just start experimenting with it.
And then I realized I started giving her the desks because that was prohibiting them from speaking with each other. There was this individual space where they didn't want to cross over.
My students describe it as like they don't have desks and don't have chairs.
So then I got rid of the desks and we had tables, and then pretty soon the tables were gone. And then after that, the next thing you know, there was a circle, and that was magical. And students suddenly started realizing that there was no barriers. There wasn't a back of the room, there wasn't a front of the room. They had to interact with each other, there was no hiding. I could hear what was going on. They had to engage in that second language.
Just because when I was finally able to get out of English mode all the time, I was able to just Spanish, and it all just stuck in my brain.
I've noticed that the students do have more fun, they're more engaged. And the big difference for me is they're speaking Spanish all of the time, pretty much.
Trial and error. Like you're pronouncing things wrong, you're saying the complete wrong word, and just slowly, it's over and over and over, and just that line, that one time it just clicks, and you start remembering stuff.
As far as I can tell, based on research as well as my own experience, the biggest difference is that we use the students as the curriculum. Who knows what topic is going to come up any given day? It's the students' lives.
We're all working together, so it's with the idea that everyone's impacting everyone else in the class, and they're trying more vocabulary and more language use out of the topics and stuff that students are bringing in the classroom. And then we're able to talk about whatever comes up with kids, and it tends to be more meaningful.
This, I think, really allows for a lot of vibrancy with just real life.
When we're all like so comfortable with each other, just like having conversation with friends.
And so now I get to like go, you know what makes sense actually is going like, how do you like to get up in the morning? How do you like to go to bed? And then how do you like to eat breakfast? And how do you like to eat dinner? Do you like the toilet paper when it goes on the outside or when it goes on the underside? Those things are like questions that are asked in every family, and I think that sticks.
And like you're saying about the social part of it, it really helped me too, because when I first came into this class, I was terrified to try to say anything. I'm like, I'm gonna totally mess that up. As you get closer to the people and you can ask them for help, like, oh, how do you say that again?
It really does help. It's not like a math class where someone could be better at it just because they started earlier. You work together and you all build your skills together. In terms of like where it used to be, like I just felt like there was this little pinch of students that would like do really well, be involved, and now I feel like even if their level is really low, I've given them tools to be able to communicate an idea, and that's, I think, really key.
I just have to get out of the way of my students. Like mostly I'm just there as a language guide. Okay, somebody wants to say something and they don't know how to say it. I'm there to provide what they want to say, but other than that, I really just try to set them free and say, go.
They aren't really afraid to speak Spanish, at least that's the goal. Before, when I used to teach in out of the book, they were more scared to speak Spanish, more scared to make mistakes, more scared to, try.
You can measure it with, the amount of college credits my students are getting is jumped up from an average of 8 to somewhere between 12 and 20. But to me, it's more those real world experiences where they feel successful and they're actually going out on their own and speaking the language in the community, because that's what it's all about. My kids come back and they tell me, you know, I had a dream in Spanish, or I went out and I did this and I helped this family. I think that that is success to any teacher, regardless of what you're teaching.
And so that's been our conversation, is how do we improve our practice and what techniques work, and we based it all on second language acquisition research. So it's basically trying to bridge that gap between the research and the practice in class, because there's been a huge gap for a really long time. And so since the 80s, we've known all this research, but it hasn't been applied in class.
Our traditional method of teaching language has been ineffective. We have a system that does not teach people how to use language. So in that sense, yes, anecdotally, I think that we are actually teaching people to use the language in a functional way. Are they perfect at it? No. Do they butcher the language and does it sound awful sometimes? Yeah. But can they communicate a message? Yeah.
We often tend to grade on what a student doesn't know and how many they get wrong, whereas the proficiency-based system, you're looking at what a student can do. You're saying, okay, they can do this, now they need to work on doing this. And so the conversation changes.
Predominantly, it's conversation, it's interaction, and it's fun.
And I think what's different is the fact that we've combined immersion with kinesthetic, with play, with social, with the research, with the students' curriculum, and bring in current events and bring in, you know, student interest and student passions and teacher interest and teacher passions.
For me, I've been able to build relationships with my students, and that's one of the reasons that I wanted to teach, was to build relationships. So for me, it's been a very real, meaningful way to do that.
And each classroom feels like its own family. And I miss them when I don't see them, and it's fun to be with them. I look forward to class. It's always exciting to see what's going to happen the next day.
Definitely, it's just a lot more fun. You know, I'm a lot happier as a teacher.
I know some people have said like they don't know if they'd still be teaching if they hadn't switched, because they were just kind of burnt out on the same thing.
The thing that gets me the most excited is the fact that students get excited about learning again, get excited about being, in my case, a Spanish speaker, or a Chinese speaker, or a French speaker, and they have an identity around speaking that language, and they get excited about being part of a classroom, being part of a community, and they want to be staying in the second language, and they want to be participating and involved